Well, hello everybody, Mr. Mack here. Uh, Thanks for coming back for Restart. We left on a very powerful chapter. It was Joel's chapter. It was we met Joel at the beginning of the book, but it was really the first time we were in his head. We were in him. We were seeing we were seeing Hiawassee. We were seeing Shoshana. We were seeing Chase through his eyes. And he's home. He came home and went back to school, and you know, and even though Shoshana has been really talking Chase up in a good way, trying to let her brother know that Chase is a different guy. Chase isn't the same. Joel obviously had to see it for himself, and he did. He did. He met Chase, and Chase gave him a very heartfelt apology for what Chase, had done to him, bullying him to the point of Joe having to leave town. And Joel told us, I believe he has amnesia. Joel said, I believe he has changed. I believe he is not the same Chase. I believe he's a great guy. And Joel also said, I don't care. And the last line of chapter 17, Joel says, and I know something else. It doesn't make any difference. None. Zero. Zilch. I still hate his guts. So, Joel's like Shoshana, very intelligent. And Joel can see that Chase is certainly remorseful for what happened, sorry for what happened. He also can see that Chase is a completely different young man. He's a new person. Doesn't matter. Chase still hates his guts. And I've said before, hate is an extremely, it's a it's a strong word to use. People use it far too freely, just like, love. Both very strong words. But anyway, I understand Joel. I do. I understand. I've been a teacher long enough to see the effects of bullies and the victims. I know. All right, chapter 18, Chase Ambrose. And there's, you can see the beginning here, there's a bit of text before the actual chapter text begins. This is in italics, which us as a reader could mean a few things. It could mean sometimes when a character is thinking, the author will put it in italics, and then we, as readers, we get to know it. As we're reading and we see something in italics, we know the character is thinking, not speaking, but thinking. It can also mean just an aside. It could mean something that's in addition to a text. It could mean something the author is just kind of letting us know, an insight. So this little bit of text here, well, I'm going to read it, and you'll see what it has to do with. It is the finding of this court that the three juveniles, Chase Matthew Ambrose, Aaron Joshua Heikeman, and Stephen Beresford Bratsky, acted recklessly and with malice, not merely destroying property, but creating chaotic circumstances that could have endeavored the public safety. Further, this is not an isolated incident. It is part of a pattern of intimidation and misbehavior toward others. Therefore, it is this court's decision that the aforementioned juveniles perform community service until such a time as their caseworker concludes that this destructive behavior has been corrected. So that was spoken by the judge at the trial, the whole cherry bomb incident, when the three boys were sentenced to community service. And some feel, as you know and I know from the story thus far, that that community service wasn't enough. They should have maybe been punished a little further. But anyway, that the author gave us that little piece. Hi, Chase. When the hand grasped my shoulder, I practically jumped out of my skin, scaring poor Brendan halfway back to the breakfast line in the cafeteria. My head has been spinning all morning. Dad asked for my birth certificate so he could set up the appointment with Dr. Nyun. I finally found it in Mom's desk, but that's not all I found. I also stumbled on a copy of the court paper sentencing Aaron, Bear, and me to community service. What's wrong? Brendan asked in concern. You look like you've just seen the zombie apocalypse and it's coming this way. How can I explain it? It's not the zombie apocalypse, but it's just as creepy. The judge's words have been burning themselves into my brain. Pattern of intimidation. Zero remorse. Pathway to criminality if left unchecked. So these weren't in that first passage. These are words that were in the document. These are words that the judge spoke. Pattern of intimidation. Intimidation is when you do or threaten somebody that if they don't do something, you're going to do something to them. You're intimidating them by manner and force. Zero remorse. Remorse is when you genuinely feel sorry, bad for something you might have done. Zero remorse means you have none of that. And pathway to criminality if left unchecked. Meaning that if this kind of behavior keeps going, they're going to go down and further down this dark road to where their actions are going to become worse and worse. They're bullying now. It's a pattern. Pattern means it's happening over and over again. They're bullying. That chances are real good they could move on to do other worse stuff. So that was said too, and that's bothering Chase. I didn't realize how bad it was, he said. Oh, sure, the flashbacks, they keep coming back. I remember the wide berth kids gave me when I got back to school after the accident and continue to give me to this day. That just means when he walks down the hall, kids are still kind of moving out of his way. The general sentiment that Hiawassee Middle School, and maybe the whole world, would be a better place without me. I'm a pretty heavy presence here. And since I've done nothing in my life to earn the reputation, it's safe to say that it comes from the secret history amnesia has erased from the 13 years before I fell off that roof. Up until a couple of weeks ago, my 4-year-old and a half sister treated me like a Sasquatch that wandered into her life, an unpredictable and dangerous beast, and her mother, an adult, wasn't much more comfortable around me. Aaron and Bear aren't exactly choir boys, so it's safe to assume I wasn't either. But in spite of the rough way they treat other people, they always have my back. That's loyalty. It's a good quality. Isn't it? I close my eyes and see the empty velvet case from Mr. Solway's closet. Remember, the empty velvet case had the Medal of Honor in it. Brendan, how bad was I blurt. An English muffin rolls off his tray and hits the floor. What are you talking about? He stammers. Leaf Man never could have happened if it wasn't for you. I mean before, I press. You know, the old Chase. Oh, who cares, he insists. You were really different then. Brendan, I know I was different. But different how? Did I ever do anything to you? After a long silence, Brendan runs a finger across his right eyebrow. And when I look close, I realize there's a scar there. Partly hidden, about half an inch long. My heart leaps into my throat. Brendan, I did that? I was leaning over the drinking fountain, Brendan says, and you came by and shoved me in the back of the head. 3 stitches. Brendan, my voice is husky. I'm so sorry. You know the worst part? He goes on. You just kept walking. You never even bothered to turn around. No follow-up. That's how nothing it was. That's how nothing I was. I can't speak. I think of Aaron and Bear, our loyalty. It kind of doesn't mean as much as I thought it did. Anyway, Brendan tells me, like I said, you're different now. I'll catch you later at video club. I watch him walk away. I don't know what I'm so broken up about. I haven't learned anything new today. Not really. The stuff in the court document, it's old news. I smell it in every corner of the school, and even if I needed confirmation, it's right there in Joel Weber's eyes. Fear. Real fear. It hits me that no matter how different I am, no matter how much the video club accepts me or even Shoshana does, I'll never be able to erase the Chase Ambrose who could strike terror in the innocent kids' hearts. Aaron, Bear, and I must have been no strangers to that look when we were turning Joel's life upside down. I guess having the power to torture another person made us feel like big men, especially when we picked on somebody smaller and weaker who was into music instead of sports. And believe it or not, right now, I'm more scared of Joel than he ever was of me, because if I see that fear in his face again, I don't know if I can handle it. And you know, I truly like Chase, and the accident was terrible, but it's given him another chance, like the principal told him, to start anew. It's not going to be easy, but that's what bullies do. They pick on the weak. They pick on others who are smaller. They pick on people who don't have a mean streak, people who don't have violence in them, and they just ruin their day. They ruin their life, is what they do. All right, there's a time jump here. In spite of it all, in spite of all that, Shoshana and I are getting along better every day. She doesn't hold it against me that her brother thinks I'm the devil. Maybe the turning point was when we were in heaven and ice together and she didn't feel the need to dump a giant sundae on my head. The important thing is, we're good. She promoted me to a full co-creator of our video project on Mr. Salway, which is well into the editing stage now. It's coming out fantastic. Editing has been tough since we have so much great footage. It's practically painful to decide what to cut. We even argue about it, sometimes change each other's minds. It's a real partnership. Although we're done shooting, we still visit Mr. Salway a lot. On the way, Shoshana stops at her house to back up our project on her computer. She's really paranoid that the school network will crash and we'll lose all of our edited footage. So she's constantly saving everything on a memory stick. Don't blame her. You computer-savvy people out there, you know Shoshana's pain, where you've had something in a computer, whether it's at school or somewhere. You've worked hard on something, a paper, something like a project, and some kind of glitch happens and it's lost. It's lost into cyberspace somewhere. Shoshana's making sure that doesn't happen. Smart girl. It goes without saying that I'm not allowed into the Weber home. We don't actually talk about that. It's just understood that I wait outside while she runs in to do the data transfer. And that's okay with me. One afternoon, I'm standing there hoping Shoshana's mom doesn't glance out the window and turn the sprinklers on me, when I hear music coming from the house. It's a piano, and I realize it must be Joel, Iowasi's musical prodigy. Obviously, it isn't the first time I've heard him play. Aaron, Bear, and I were in the auditorium to watch our firecrackers go off, so we must have experienced at least a little of his music. But it's my first time hearing it in this new life. He's amazing. And not just because he plays fast without making mistakes. The notes flow like a river, speeding up and slowing down, changing in tone and texture. It's almost as if the piano is singing. And I wish I knew more about the music so I could really appreciate it. I'm crossing the lawn almost without realizing. I'm putting one foot in front of the other. I'm following the sound, which seems to be coming from a side window. And before I know it, I'm at the bushes peering inside. And yep, there's Joel, seated behind a baby grand, lost in his performance. I'm almost overcome with shame. We took this kid's talent and made him a target because of it. When the attack comes, I'm totally caught off guard. A supernova of blonde fur launches itself at me, clamping its paws around my leg and burying its teeth in the denim of my jeans. With a cry of shock, I stagger back, toppling into a large barberry bush, and as I go down, my face and arms are ripped to shreds by the stiff wooden branches and tiny thorns. The dog is smart enough to jump off before he hit the bush. It stands at the edge of the flower bed, yapping at me. The music stops and Joel appears at the window, and when he spots me lying on the hedge, his eyes widen in shock. It's not what you think, I blurt, even though the window is closed and he probably can't hear me. To Joel, this must look like his former tormentor is at it again, stalking him in his own home. How could I be so stupid? I try to get up out of the hedge, but every time I move, I get snaggled and snatched even more. Plus, that agitates the dog, who starts howling and barking and yapping. A moment later, Mrs. Weber marches across the lawn, tossing over her shoulder. You must be mistaken, Joel. There's no way, Chase Ambrose. And she spies me and falls silent. Joe is next. See? I told you. It's him. I try to explain. I was just waiting for Shoshana. We're going to visit Mr. Salway. And that's a reason to skulk in our bushes? Mrs. Weber demands icily. Technically, I'm doing more bleeding than skulking, but I just say, I heard the music. And then this dog. Mom, Shoshana's voice, what's going on? Shoshana backs up my story, which, according to Mrs. Weber, is the only reason they're not calling the cops. The two of them drag me out of the hedge, which is even more painful than going in. Good dog, Mitzi, is Joel's comment. I turn to Mrs. Weber. I'm sorry for the disturbance. I came closer to hear the music, and when the dog attacked, I fell in the bushes, and I add to Joel, You're really good. He doesn't answer. His mother looks me over critically. You're bleeding. And then, I guess we can't let you walk around like that. She drags me into the kitchen and washes all my cuts and scratches with antiseptic. The good news is, Mitzi's bites didn't break the skin. The bad news is, every thorn and branch did. It's the worst agony I can remember, ever since I fell off the roof, and I can't shake the feeling that Mrs. Weber is loving supplying it. It's the first time I've ever seen Joel smile. Even Shoshana's grinning a little, although she tries to disguise it as sympathy. I don't know what's worse, the pain or the reason they're enjoying watching me suffer. Time jump. The next time I'm outside the Weber house, waiting for Shoshana to back up our work, I will keep my distance. Joel's playing the piano again. I can hear it, and I can actually see him at the keys through that side window. He glances up, spots me, and gets to his feet. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm in trouble now. He's going to sick that dog on me again. Or worse, his mom. Then he does the last thing I ever expected. He reaches over, opens the window, and goes back to practicing. If I didn't know better, I'd swear he wants me to listen. Another time jump. We got a number of time jumps in this one. Makes it exciting. At school, lunch is turning into the most stressful part of my day. I've been altering my cafeteria time, one day at the football table with Aaron, Bear, and the Hurricanes, and the next across the lunchroom with the video club. I take a lot of flack from the team who can't understand me hanging out with Dork Nation. I realize the players joke around a lot, but it's starting to sound less and less like joking. Even when I'm with the video club, it's awkward because Joel's there. We're not friends, but we both run with the same crowd. Usually I sit at one end of the table and Joel sits on the opposite side. One day, though, he comes late, and the only seat left is right next to me. At first, I think he's going to bolt for the far end of the cafeteria to make a statement that he'd rather eat in another zip code than sit beside me. And he doesn't hesitate a little. He does hesitate a little bit. Eventually, though, he gives in, sets his tray down right next to mine, and sits. Everybody else is looking at us like there's about to be a major war, but nothing happened. Still, a couple of days later, the others make sure there's a spot for Joel nice and far from me. None of this escapes the watchful attention of Aaron and Bear. I get that you hang out with the video dweebs now, Aaron tells me. But him? Joe Weber? It's thanks to him that we got to do this community service. Yeah, and we never did anything to him, I retort sarcastically. In other words, Joe, being sarcastic, when you're sarcastic, and most of you know you've used sarcasm. I use it a lot. I enjoy it. But it can be used in a funny way. It can be used in a dark way too. But when Aaron says, yeah, I get that you're hanging out with him, but Joe Weber, it's thanks to him that we got community service. And then Chase says, yeah, and we never did anything to him. That's being sarcastic. In other words, Chase is saying, yeah, we never did anything to him. Chase is really saying, we did everything to him. You know, we deserve the community service. That's what Chase is saying. That's sarcasm. Okay, fine, says Bear. But how are we supposed to know he was going to go crying to Mommy? We booby-trapped his piano in an auditorium full of people. And I barked this at Bear. I think his mommy would have noticed without him ratting us out, don't you? All right, you made your point, Aaron soothes. Wasn't the nicest thing to do. And we're paying the price for it, aren't we? It's over. Forget it. And why Joel, huh? I go on. I know you think all the kids at this school who don't play football are either dweebs, wimps, or losers, but how's he different from everybody else? Because he's small? Because he's talented? Bear explodes. Why don't you ask yourself? You're the one who picked him. You used to be the fun guy. Or did you forget that too? We did what we did because it was fun. And the more the more Weber lost his mind, the funnier it was. Especially to you. Did it feel great when we heard he was going to go to another school? No. But by then we were headed for the Graybeard Motel. So who cared where they sent him? Well, I think Bear's a bit of a jerk. I kind of had hope for Aaron. I don't know. Maybe I still have just the slightest bit of hope for Aaron. I don't know. But Bear has no remorse whatsoever. He can't understand that what he did was wrong. Aaron, I don't know. I'm holding out for Aaron a little bit. I don't have a lot of hope for Aaron, but I don't have any hope for Bear. I can feel the color draining from my face. That might be the closest I'll ever get to understanding how my brain worked before the accident. I may not like it, but it's me. That afternoon, Shoshana and I finished the final edit on our entry for the contest. We've titled it Warrior. Neither of us can wait to play it for Mr. Salway, but we make the usual stop at the Weber home for Shoshana to back up our work. Like always, I wait on the lawn while Shoshana heads into the house. She pauses in the doorway and tosses a look over her shoulder. Aren't you coming? A million questions whirl through my head. Did I just hear her right? Is she kidding? Will her mom kill me? Her brother? Her dog? Yet somehow I know that if I ask any of them, I'll spoil it, and the opportunity will be lost forever. So I follow her right into the house. Mrs. Weber sees me first. She stares at me for a second, and then she goes back to the book she was reading. In the living room, Joel is at the piano as usual. He glances up at me, and the music comes to a momentary halt. And then he takes a long, hard look, and then he goes back to his concerto. I'm not sure why, but I feel an odd surge of emotion, and I have to swallow hard a couple of times. Even Mitzi wags her tail. All right, so that's the end of chapter 18. Well, wow. Lots of things happening here. You know, this mentioning quite a few times in this chapter of Shoshana backing up her work. You know, there's such a thing as foreshadowing, where the author gives us a little bit of something, and it kind of sets the stage for something that's coming down the pike. You know, something, the author gives us a clue, and that clue is in the story. It's kind of woven in there. It's in the fabric of the story. And then when something with that happens later, we've already been given that little bit of a clue. Where it's not that we, it's foreshadowing. It gives us a clue of something that's coming. What scares me is this awesome video that they've been working on so hard. The author has given us that little tidbit that Shoshana's backing it up so she doesn't lose it. That worries me. So I hope nothing happens to her work. And just like Chase has done with others so far, except for Bear and Aaron, Chase has won over Shoshana. He's won over Brendan and the video club members, and Mom a little bit, Shoshana's mom. And I don't know about Joel. I think Joel, I don't know. I respect Joel's hatred of the bully. However, Joel's tolerating him. Mom's tolerating him too. He actually came in the house, and even the dog's wagging its tail. So there are some developments, and there's this whole thing's an evolution. You know, it's evolving into something better than it was, and that's what we want in life, don't we? Every day we want it to be better. You know, sometimes it doesn't always work that way, but we still have hope, and we hold on to things, and we hope. If today didn't go so well, we hope tomorrow's better. We work towards that always move towards the light. You know. Well, that's it. So I can't wait to get back. Let's see, chapter 19. Oh, look who we are. We're going to be in Bear's point of view. I can't wait to be in there. I can't imagine there's much up there but meat. But we'll see. Bear's the most unforgiving character. And we've all known people that like this. What I love about books like this is we can identify. Some characters are like us, some characters are like other people we know. And unfortunately, there are bears in the world, people who do things without remorse, people who do things to hurt other people. They get a kick out of it. But you never know. We may learn something about Bear. Don't know. We'll see. Take care. Stay safe. Mask up when you go out. Keep your hands away from your eyes, your nose, and your mouth, and all that good stuff. I wish you the very best. Take care of yourselves, and come back for the next chapter. Bye-bye.